Hi, this is Brent with ESFI, and I'm here sitting with Kevin Carlino, also known as Sixen, one of Heroes of the Storm's most prominent content creators. He's been doing this stuff for a while, back when it was still called Blizzard DOTA, actually. So we're here at BlizzCon Day 1 on Friday, and we are going to ask him some questions because he's probably one of the people who have played the game the most on the demo station. So we're going to speak with him about it right now. So Kevin, let's start off with the first time you sat down at the demo PC, your first demo PC, playing Heroes of the Storm, and what your initial impressions were.
Yeah, so I'm laughing because I think the first time I sat down, I actually got chills. I mean, because for me, this has been a long time coming. I played Blizzard DOTA at 2010. I played Blizzard All Stars at 2011, and now it's Heroes of the Storm. It's almost like 3 different games. But yeah, man, the first time I sat down, I actually got chills. I was like, oh my god, this is actually happening. I think I tweeted exactly that. Oh my god, Blizzard Heroes, or at Blizzard Heroes, you know. So yeah, I really my first playthrough was I thought it was very successful. I really wanted to play the Pudge-like character, but I'll touch on that later.
Okay.
I ended up playing the. I don't even remember. It's been a blur for me.
Yeah, I'll ask you about the heroes you've played later on.
Yep. It was a good time. I'm really excited. I think the game's gonna go far.
Awesome. So the first thing I want to ask you about is, and I guess a lot of these questions are going to be just comparisons to the traditional MOBAs out there, like today with Dota and LoL, League of Legends, for example. The first thing I want to ask you is just the movement. And as well as the stylistically, the art, the design, the graphics and whatnot. What are your thoughts on that?
So first, I'm going to touch on the art. For me, I've been a long time Dota player. I never really switched over to LoL. I just didn't really like that art style, and it seems to me, Heroes of the Storm is probably more closely related to LoL than it is to Dota. I mean, at least for me, it seems more cartoony. And I mean, actually, Sammy mentioned that in the overview panel that they were trying to get that cartoony feel. And to me, that's just how LoL feels. Whereas Dota, I don't really want to say it feels more realistic because, I mean, it's still kind of out there. But as far as the art style goes, I mean, I'm not going to complain. It's still really cool. I love. And on a related note, that they're actually meshing all 3 worlds. And this is the example I always use: the Witch Doctor, the Diablo 3 Witch Doctor hero in Heroes. He's the Diablo 3 character. That's that. Number 2, he's got a Warcraft troll witch doctor head as his kind of offhand type thing, and he's got a Zergling skull on his hip. So I think that's so cool. And you know, from an artist's point of view, like, these are the types of things, just the small details. These are the types of things that they're shooting for. As far as movement goes, keep in mind, so this game is made off of the StarCraft 2 engine, so it's going to be very, very similar to how StarCraft 2 functions. So the micro, etc. In StarCraft, this is exactly how this is going to function. So it's my understanding that there is, there's turn rates and things of that nature. You don't just automatically, like, bam, you're turned around and you're casting a skill behind you, which doesn't even make sense. So. Okay,
cool. So next thing I want to ask you about is the map layout. It's very different from what we're used to. From what I've played, it's left to right, right to left, depending on what side you spawn, of course. And after that, I also want to touch on the way that towers work, with the gates, the destructible gates and whatnot. So.
Yeah, so from what I've seen also, and it seems like I've played the 3 that you haven't played, and you played the 1 that I haven't. So there's 4 maps total. There's Blackheart's Bay, which is, you collect coins, you feed the coins to Blackheart, and he lets you use your ghost ship, or he lets you use his ghost ship, and it fires in the enemy team, which is actually really cool. The second one is Dragonshire, I believe is what it's called, and you have to capture the shrines. You capture the shrines, you go to the middle, it gets the altar, and this altar turns you into Dragonite. Very cool. The third one is the Haunted Mines. This is the one I lost on. It's pretty tough. You have to go under. Yeah, it's actually kind of cool. You go underground. And I realize I'm a little bit off tangent here, but you go underground, and it seems like all of these maps, and then the 4th one I don't know very much about. I have yet to play it, but all of these maps that they've shown here at BlizzCon, it seems like they're all, like you mentioned, they're all left to right, which is not something we're really used to. Like, they're on their. They're horizontal? Yeah, they're on the horizon. As opposed to, being, they're not really up and down, but they're kind of, on the top left, bottom right. I might be wrong. Yeah, I've got the flip-flopped top right, bottom left style, like, perfect example, Dota 2. Now, that doesn't mean that this is going to be the case for every other map. Again, I mean, they have 4 maps here. there might be they come out with infinitely many more. So that's very cool.
Okay. And the other thing I want to touch on is just the way that Blizzard and the way that they designed the game, how they are, I guess, differentiating it from League of Legends and Dota. Like there's a more profound focus on strategy and team play.
Yeah, I'm actually really excited. So this is definitely because coming into BlizzCon, I had the same question. I mean, seeing Blizzard All-Stars and Blizzard Dota, it's always been the traditional MOBA/ARTS type game where you want to focus on getting hero kills and building up your team and getting to the point where you just completely crush them. Well, in Heroes, it's slightly different. Sure, hero kills play a big part because obviously you get experience. Number one, and number two, you knock them out of the fight for X seconds, however long their resurrection timer is. So that's very cool. And it seems like everything Blizzard's trying to do with Heroes of the Storm is they want to make it objective based. So again, I just talked about the 3 of the 4 maps, and they all play. You have to play. Basically, if you don't play the objective, you're going to lose. So in that sense, it kind of reminds me a little bit of Call of Duty, domination type stuff where you have to capture the flags. So it's very similar. And I mean, sure, you might be doing great, and you might be knocking out the other team's heroes and getting a lot of kills, but the game can sway. I mean, perfect example is the dragon one. Once you capture the shrines capture the shrines, and you get the dragon, turn into the dragon form. Oh my god, it's insane. It's so overpowered. So I mean, you could be completely getting wrecked, and you turn into the dragon knight form, and it totally turns the sway of the battle. So objective is pretty big in Heroes.
Cool. That sounds fun. So let's talk about the fun stuff, the heroes, and your favorite heroes, the ones you've played. And I also guess we can lead that into a question about just the way that Blizzard is classifying the roles, the different roles that heroes are taking.
Sure. So far, I've gotten, like I said, I got to play 3 different times. The first game I played as Illidan. He was really cool. He's an assassin type hero, and I'll touch on that. So Illidan, he was, like I said, assassin type hero. He's very cool. Focuses on doing DPS. The second time I got to play, and I was a little disappointed the first time because, like I said, I wanted to play Stitches, and Stitches is like the hero's equivalent of Pudge. So he's got a hook. He kind of has Dismember. So it's pretty much Pudge, just in the Heroes of the Storm game. He's probably by far going to be my favorite hero. I realize there's 18 heroes. I haven't played 15 of them, but I think he's going to be by far my favorite one. And the last playthrough I played is the Demon Hunter. Now, she was really cool, but it was very straightforward. You kind of have a bow, and you like her skills were like multi-shot and stuff like that. So I mean, it wasn't as I don't know. Stitches was awesome. So talking about the roles a little bit, they've been using some terms interchangeably. It seems like there's the Assassin, which I believe they're also calling Slayer. That's going to be your DPS type hero. You've got your support, your healer. You've got Siege and Specialist type heroes. This is actually very interesting. In Blizzard All-Stars, there's a General Warfield character, which is the hero Siege tank. And basically his cool thing was he could outrange towers, which is very nice. And actually, I forgot to hit on that. He can outrange towers. So there's that. And Abathur is a Specialist character. He's very cool. I want to play him next. So I think I'm really looking forward to that one. And then there was the fourth type, which is, I believe they're calling Warrior. That's going to be like your tank. And then again, like I said, I forgot to mention the towers. So the towers are a very interesting mechanic. They actually run out of ammunition. And again, this was what they had done in Blizzard Dota and Blizzard All-Stars. They took it out briefly, and they realized that, hey, this is a really cool mechanic. We need to bring this back. So towers have ammunition, and there's also a gate in connecting both towers, which is very, very cool. And you've got options here. You can either kill the towers and then kill the gate, obviously, because it's got no defense, or you can kill the gate and just try to truck on right through and skip the towers. So it's very interesting mechanics. I can see this playing a big part in the strategy of the overall game, the meta game, etc.
Awesome. And the way that skills work and the way that you level up your skills is a little bit different in this game. Can you explain that?
Yeah, I was actually very, very surprised because they made a big change with this. There's no items, there's no shop, there's no gold. This was very surprising to me. I mean, items play a huge part in League of Legends and Dota and any other MOBA or ARTS game. So that was shocking to me. And then skills, you have your 4 skills, and like that's it. I mean, sure, you can unlock a skill later on, they added this talent. I believe I don't know what to call it. It's their talents, their traits. It's whatever the term is, and that's kind of like a pool. So basically, I think there are 6 different times where you're able to unlock a talent, and talents can be both active and passive, although the majority of them are passive. So you start off with 3 skills and a passive, and this was the case for Blizzard All-Stars as well. And you don't level these skills up. Basically, once you hit X, certain specific levels, you're able to unlock a new trait. And these traits do things like increase your movement speed. They increase your attack damage. For Stitches, by far my favorite trait for him was increasing the hook. So you hook even further. It's disgusting. It is disgusting. I love it. But yeah, so these talents, traits, whatever you want to call them, this is like the new thing, and it's actually very cool because you also unlock your ultimate that way. I think it's still at level 6 or 7-ish, somewhere around that line. But yes, it's very interesting what Blizzard's done with this.
Now, how do you think the lack of items, the shared experience, there's no last hitting, for example, now, how do you think that's going to affect the way that people approach the game?
Well, it's certainly, to me, it's a little bit concerning. I mean, I would love for this game to be played competitively. I want it to be an esport. No last hitting, that certainly takes away a little bit of the skill. Mm-hmm. Now, Blizzard's mantra has always been easy to learn, difficult to master. So jumping into this game for the first time, not having to worry about last hitting was great. And actually, the very first thing I did was I immediately just started fighting the heroes. Because at this point, you can basically ignore the creep waves. Mm-hmm. As long as any one of your heroes, anybody on your team is close enough, because like you said, of the shared experience, all your team, you and the rest of your teammates are all the same level. So as long as somebody on your team is gaining experience, now granted, if you're all gaining experience, that's just more collectively. But as long as somebody's getting experience, you're all going to get levels. So you can just immediately start fighting heroes, which is really cool because it just, and again, I believe they mentioned this in Blizzard All-Stars, this was their way of really increasing early aggression. And again, because for them, they want to have like a 20-minute average game length, just getting rid of last hits and denies means you can spend less time focusing on creeps and more time focusing on heroes.
Mm-hmm. And I was listening to the Heroes of the Storm panel that they had earlier today, and they were speaking a little bit about just the esports aspect and how they're approaching that. And I guess the general gist of what their mindset is, if it becomes an esport, then great, but we're not going to do anything to actually propel it ourselves. It's going to be something that the community does. So that's a mindset that's very different from, for example, what Riot is doing with League of Legends. What are your thoughts on that?
Maybe a year ago, this would have concerned me. I'd have been nervous about it, but after seeing Blizzard has a Hearthstone exhibition here. People are playing Hearthstone competitively, and that game I would have never expected to be played competitively. So that sheer fact makes me not so, I'm not as concerned. Dustin did mention that, and this kind of comforted me a little bit as well. He mentioned, or it might have been Siggety that said this at the panel, that tomorrow Dustin will be shoutcasting some, he called it what is high-level or competitive play between the developers. So basically, these are the guys that are making the game. They're gonna know the game in and out, so they should be able to play it to the highest level. That being said, I truly believe that there will be a competitive scene for this. Whether or not it's an esport, it's all definitions and terms, however people perceive it, whatever. I personally, like I said, I think that there will be a competitive play. And with that, the whole scene behind it, commentators, shoutcasters, because the game is built on the StarCraft 2 engine, we have basically everything that StarCraft 2 has to offer. So replays, all the observer abilities, all of that stuff, or features rather, all of that should be very, very easily ported to Heroes.
Yeah, that's a great point. So all signs point to the game being free to play. So what are some ways that you think they're going to monetize the game?
That's actually a really good question. So yes, as far as I'm aware, the game still remains free to play, and that is the idea. And just to throw this in there, I read beta in the FAQ should be coming out first half of 2014.
Okay.
So that's pretty big.
Yeah.
So monetization. My big thing is they're probably going to ride the coattail of Riot and Valve, and they're going to release some kind of vanity items, things like custom custom skills. I know for Dota 2, Valve tested that out with a hero Lena, where they basically just remade her, completely redid her model, and changed a lot of the visuals of her skills, not the effects. So gameplay will remain the same, but her visuals changed. So I can see Blizzard doing something like that. Perfect example, Stitches. Maybe he gets some kind of a cool looking hook, something along those lines. He is such a cool hero. I'm not going to get around that. But otherwise, they have skins. So there are some skins that they have in the game right now. I'm going to go back to Stitches. Actually, the Demon Hunter was really cool. She kind of had like a Buffy the Vampire Slayer type skin going to
Nice.
her, and they were saying that they have a ton more that they want to reveal. So I have to imagine they're going to be selling those.
And there's also mounts. I imagine also that they're going to have different mounts you can buy and different skins for those mounts.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. I really like the mount system because again they got rid of boots and every other item, so they needed to come up with some other way for you to increase your movement speed. So that's a really cool mechanic. And yeah. I envision them selling mounts. I mean, as of right now, there's I think maybe 4 or 5, and some of them aren't for every hero, but some of them are, and they're really cool. And like I said, very great point. I can imagine them selling those as well.
Just going back to the mounts real quick, since we didn't touch up on it earlier. So you spawn on the mount. When do you have to come off the mount? How does that work?
So that's actually a great question. So like you said, you actually spawn on the mount, which is very cool, instead of having you spawn in and then have to mount up, which I believe is like a 3-ish second spawn time. So you spawn on the mount. It's very cool. You get to run around and do all kinds of cool stuff. As soon as you get hit, you're immediately dismounted, and I believe slowed as well. You can also cast a spell right off a mount, so you don't have to worry about dismounting and then fighting. You can just jump right into battle, which is very cool. And like I said, that 3-second cast time, that's actually very important, because you can use this to run away. So you have to maybe use an escape skill. Demon Hunter has Vault, so she can just somersault across the way and then try to mount up and run. But if she gets hit by a creep or a hero or anything, she gets dismounted. So that's very cool. And also, on a related note, there is a Hearthstone ability inside of Heroes of the Storm where you teleport back to base. So again, no items, no town portal scrolls, so you've got this Hearthstone.
Okay, so it's basically a recall in League of Legends.
Yeah.
Okay.
Recall, well, they called it Hearthstone. World of Warcraft, you've got your Hearthstone,
Yeah.
so it brings you back to your base, basically.
Okay, cool. So in terms of your own personal coverage plans for Heroes of the Storm moving forward, can you just tell us about what those are, what you're going to be doing?
Sure. So like you mentioned at the beginning, I've been covering Blizzard Dota, I've been covering Blizzard All-Stars, and now it's a natural progression for me to do Heroes of the Storm. Now, granted, my coverage of Blizzard Dota and Blizzard All-Stars has been pretty slim just because we've had nothing to go off of, but I'm pretty proud that I was able to produce some videos based on what we did have. So going forward, I am going to, I would like to do some analysis videos of the mechanics and the heroes and things of that nature, and then once we're closer into beta, and actually probably in beta, I want to do playthroughs of the heroes. I want to do long term, I would love to be able to sit down and do a daily show, kind of like what Sean Day 9 does. That's my long term goal. But for the time being, obviously, if something like that is people will watch that, obviously that's something I'm going to do. But for the time being, I really want to do analysis videos, playthroughs, etc. So just educational entertainment for heroes.
Okay. And where can we find your content right now?
Thank you for asking. So right now you guys can catch me on YouTube, just youtube.com/Sixen, and then Twitter, twitter.com/Sixen. I'm always tweeting out good stuff.
Okay, man. Thanks a lot for the interview. And I guess we can let you go back to some more demo stations.
Thanks, Brent. Appreciate it. Take it easy.
No problem.